Alright, man, what's the word, y'all? What's the word, man? What's the word? Peace. Cosmic family, man, out there. Peace, cosmic family. Shit, how y'all doing today, man? This is some deep-ass information that I got for y'all today on some real-ass shit. But let me let y'all check out the setup real quick. No, for sure. Incense for goon. Got the water right here. I'm gonna tell y'all about that. Man, it's just crazy. But basically, I was basically sent this post on some shit like that about the 7 tribes of Missouri and whatever like that. So I did some information and whatever like that. And man, the shit is deep, right? That rabbit hole is deep. So basically, it was 2 French explorers and shit like that that basically discovered, I guess you could say, or supposedly discovered the Great Lakes, which is also known as the Mississippi River, right? So basically, these 2 motherfuckers were known as Louis Joliet and Jacques Marquette. So first of all, those French names, and I do my research for sure. Like, I'm not just telling y'all no just regular information, right? These I love your crystals, cause they all little pieces of consciousness, right? But nah, for sure. But definitely do my research on everything that I'm telling y'all about, for sure. This is just a couple YouTube videos. These just some shit that I was just researching, but I ain't really trying to make this video long because I know this video is for people in the Midwest. It's for the Midwesterners, right? We like to call ourselves Midwesterners and shit, but do you even know the French motherfuckers that came across this geographic landmass of the Midwest, right? Arkansas, Georgia, Missouri, right? All them cities, Atlanta, St. Louis, right? We know those cities, first of all, to be, along water and shit like that. They all go through the Mississippi River, or, yeah. So basically, Atlanta, Georgia, Missouri, Illinois, right? They all stretch along that large body of water known as the Mississippi River, right? So Louis Joliet and Jacques Marquette was basically on 2 different missions, right? They were basically like a, how do you describe that? They were like a odd couple, right? They weren't gay or anything, but they were an odd couple, right? They were 2 French people, right? So Louis Joliet, he was born in France, 1630. Right, he became a Jesuit missionary, so that means that his purpose was basically to spread the gospel, to spread the word, right? So, yeah, that was him. So basically, they was basically sent from King Louis V and whatever like that. I think y'all can fact check that, but he was sent by a monarch named King Louis. See, I'm kind of like stuttering right now, some shit like that, because I just had a bomb ass conversation just explaining this same thing to somebody, and I was like charged up like a motherfucker. And I'm trying to bring that same umph to y'all too, because y'all have to know the shit that I'm finna tell y'all, right? So basically, from King, I'm reading my notes too, right? Because they say you write down things that you really care about, and I write down things that have a lot to do about knowledge, wisdom, and really just learning and knowing. So it's like, most definitely, I have to put all the crystals on a day because I'm trying to send this motherfucker out to y'all, for real. But basically, Louis Joliet, right, his purpose was basically to evangelize the Native American tribes, or the native tribes, you know, along the Great Lakes and Mississippi River, right? So basically, upon his arrival, right, he learned the languages of the Algonquian and Montagnais tribes, right? And he headed west, basically, towards the Great Lakes to also evangelize his word. So basically, this nigga Louis Joliet ended up becoming the first European to come across the tribes of the Illinois people and shit like that, right? So he was the first Euro to do that, right? And basically, they encouraged him to continue his journey upon the Great Lakes and everything like that. And then you have another motherfucker named Jacques Marquette, right? So Jacques Marquette, he was a bit different. His purpose in France was he was a skilled like fur trader. He traded fur and shit like that, right? So he was trading fur with native tribes and shit like that. You know, outside of trading hours and shit like that. So this was his skill, right? So basically, King Louis V ended up pairing Louis Juliet or Louis Joliet and Jacques Marquette. They ended up both being paired to go to these lakes because they been hearing about it and everything. You know how you hear some shit that, you know, that's up in another state motherfuckers want to go, right? It's the same thing like that back then, right? So basically, they was both assigned to go to these Great Lakes and see what's over there, right? So basically, you know, they just want to colonize some shit, right? And it's no coincidence that Louis Joliet, he was the son of a French colonist, right? So basically, the French were already colonizing and shit like that, right? But basically, what's the whole point of saying that? There's a couple points in what I just said. First of all, language. The first thing that they did when they came over was they learned the language of the people. They learned the native languages of the tribes, right? Because you have to understand, and overstand that language is very powerful. Language holds vibration, frequency. It holds, right, a message, right? It holds like so much, right? Language, that's language. Laughing is language, right? That's all forms of communication, right? But what we're speaking, we consider, okay, yeah, this is language, right? But this is just speaking. But is it really speaking? No, it's spelling, right? We're spell casting every single day with our words and shit. So that's the first thing that they learned, right? That's the first thing that Louis Joliet and Jacques Marquette learned when they came over here in the Midwest along the tribes and shit like that. But you had to remember, when they came over here, they was at war. Damn near type shit. They was at war because, you know, Christopher Columbus had already came right before him and whatever like that, and he ended up meeting up with some basically Louis Joliet and Jacques Marquette, they ended up meeting with a couple of their comrades and shit that was already there colonizing shit and whatever like that, right? Because neither the Spaniards or the French, neither of them motherfuckers wanted to, basically, neither groups wanted to be held hostage, right, by each other. Because I think they was at war with each other, and they was also at war with the Native American tribes and shit that was there, or the Native tribes that was there, which, you know, was technically us, right? Because you can continue to think that you came from Africa or shit like that if you want to, right? But if you know that you were born somewhere in the Midwest, and then you can trace that shit all the way back to your great grandmama who supposedly was her, then you have to go by that, right? You can't keep on saying that she was in Africa somewhere, because first of all, you have to know the difference, right? Because there really is a difference, right? An African looks slightly different than an African American, right? Well, that's just what we considered ourselves and shit over here. That's confirmation, right? But basically, African Americans, right? We look a bit differently than plain Africans. First of all, we look a bit lighter, right? Or a majority of us, right? Even though I'm you know, black and chocolate and shit like that, I still technically, you know, I won't have certain features in them. Their noses are going to be a little bit broader, right? You know, ears are going to be a little bit bigger and shit like that. Not saying that to talk about anybody, nothing like that, but the geographic location that they live at, right? The atmosphere that they live in is going to require for them to have more broader noses or more wider lips and shit like that. Yeah, I have to look into science and shit like that, right? So basically, they learned the language and shit like that, and this is exactly why they take our language from us, or why they took it from us, right? Because just how a person can't explain how they really feel on some shit like that, right? You just can't find them words, right, to really explain how you felt, right? So if I said that I was mad, right, but I couldn't explain to y'all that I was just mad, right, I would probably be like, right? Because it's just up in that energy it's just up in that motion, right, that you could really pretty much know what I was saying. You could feel the energy, right? You could already sense that a motherfucker was upset. Woo woo. So basically, learning the languages and shit like that was they first thing, right? The first thing they did was learn the language, and then he started evangelizing Christianity and everything like that along, the lines and shit like that, the Mississippi River, right? So another thing about basically St. Louis and shit like that being so dangerous, or basically the Midwest period just being a very hot topic, right? A very just, I don't know, dangerous place, Memphis, everything like that. Shit is because they all in some way run along the Mississippi River, and you have to understand that water holds frequency, right? So just like I wrote something down. It was Lake Lanier. That's what it is. Lake Lanier. Just like Lake Lanier, y'all know the story of that and shit like that, right? It was basically a city, or not city, I guess you can say it was basically like a population, right? Or a little community basically ran by predominantly indigenous black people, however you want to call it, right? It was ran by us, right? And that city just so happened to become submerged in water and a whole lot of shit, right? And the people that are being driven out of the community, and now you got Lake Lanier. But that also tends to be the most dangerous, or one of the most deadliest lakes as well, right? It holds a lot of, I don't know, fucked up energy and shit like that for a reason, obviously, because, let me pick my chart up. I ain't even far up this blunt shit. See, I ain't even got started yet, for real. But nah, shit. Water, first of all, holds energy. This is exactly why the Midwest and cities and communities along the Midwest are so dangerous, because water holds frequency. And from the energy that Juliet, right, and Marquette brought to the Great Lakes, and the energy that they brought to the Midwest upon other tribes and shit like that, already scattering towards Missouri and whatever like that, towards the middle, right, of North America, right? Because when Christopher Columbus came in, he basically had us scattered, running kind of towards the middle and shit like that, right? So a lot of the tribes, the Cherokee, Choctaw, and everything like that, they met up around, the Missouri area. So when you would do your research on the French exploration of the Mississippi River, right, they'll tell you that, right, they was at war, and not just with each other, I think, but they was at war with, actually, I don't even think they was at war with each other. I think that they was actually just at war with us too, because we was capturing their ass too, and we was killing their ass too. This is exactly why. And right, the documents and shit like that, they would say that they would have to bring gifts and shit like that, and trade and shit like that with motherfuckers and shit like that, because that's just kind of just how they bribed us into thinking that they were nice, because right, Louis Joliet was the first European to meet the Illinois tribes and whatever like that, and they welcomed him in with open arms. See, this is what I mean by the English language. It's like you just cannot get your fucking point across no matter how many words you say. This is why people resort to drugs and crime and all type of shit, and this is why people do the unexplainable, because they took our language away, right? They took our language away, and we cannot even gravitate or really genuinely have a sense of feeling or belonging, because they took so much of that feeling away. They took so much of that feminine energy away, right? Feminine energy is your subconscious mind, right? Your conscious mind is masculine, right? So within, so without. But that's a whole nother story. Or not even story, because it's factual, but that's a whole nother subject. But nah. So basically, water holds a whole bunch of frequency. Your body is made of 70% water and 30% matter, or bone and tissue and shit like that. This is exactly why you can program water and shit like that, and they can show you, you know, water under a certain vibration and how it's going to form and whatever like that. So think about the Midwest, think about St. Louis and whatever like that. It's near the Mississippi River, right? It's damn near surrounded by water. Same thing with Illinois. And these water bodies hold frequencies of the indigenous people that's been here. Not only that, they put up these monuments and whatever like that, like the Statue of Liberty, right? In New York, they put up the arch and shit like that to capture this energy, right? And basically to hold it. So it's like the energy is always stagnant. The energy is always there. This is why people want to leave St. Louis. Oh, I just gotta go out of St. Louis. It's because of the water. We all know that the Mississippi River is one of the most dirtiest rivers up in the world or up in the U.S. But that's not what they said back then when they discovered it. Right back then, it was clear, documented proof. I mean, this is why you gotta write shit down, right? But no, it say it right here. Assigned to evangelize Native people in Canada, right? He learned languages of the Alaniquan and Montagees tribes and headed west to recently discovered Great Lakes, right, which exists along the western or the interior of North America, right, because Canada is North America too. So basically, the Great Lakes were considered the largest groups of freshwater lakes in the world, right? So it was no reason why they came all the way from Spain, all the way from, you know, all the way over there to come to these Great Lakes. So while exploring the western end of the Lake Superior in 1669, he became the first European to meet members of the Illinois tribe who encouraged Marquette to continue discovering their lands, including the enormous lake, the Great River, which is also considered the Mississippi River, right? So basically, Jacquet and Louise met up in 1672, and basically your modern day Michigan and shit like that, they met up and everything like that, and that's exactly kind of how they, you know, started forming out. Or that's kind of how they started expanding out throughout, you know, the rest of the U.S. and shit. Because you know that they say that it started off with 13 colonies and shit like that. Where were the other land masses at, or who owned the other land masses, right? It was the Spaniards and shit like that, right? U.S. or the English Americans, they were just pardoned and shit like that from Britain and everything like that. So they were just like getting over there too. So it's like, you know, motherfuckers was getting over there too. So this is why they gotta get Christopher Columbus his stripes, because he was like the first nigga to like break the walls and type shit, you know. He like basically shit. I mean, from their perspective, the North American section was like a version, and he basically broke the walls, right? And basically everybody else started coming in after that. Like, think about it. No wonder why you have French fries and burgers and shit like that being some of the most soul food, or being one of the most American known things, right? Because the French had a large part of this shit too, right? But this is also another point I forgot to tell y'all too. Basically King Louis V, right? He basically always wandered along with Louis Joliet and Jacques Marquette. They wanted to know how long the Mississippi River spanned. They wanted to know if it went into the Gulf of Mexico, went into the Pacific Ocean. They wanted to know if it went into certain parts of Japan and shit like that. Because y'all really got to understand and understand that the Mississippi River goes so fucking far. Like, it really go far. The Mississippi River is like a Nile River, right? This is why they've always said that basically, are you from Africa? Well, you technically are, because the geographical landmass of America is Africa, right? No wonder why they have Memphis. They have pyramids over here, right? It's almost like what they did in Africa, or what our recent ancestors did in Africa, right? the tribes and the people that were here mimic that same shit. And if you can identify yourself as being from this geographical location and stop being fed bullshit lies that you're from Africa, then you can start taking ownership of the land. Simple as that. Like, these are tribes that's connected to this land mass you live amongst, or you live along the Mississippi River, but you're not taking no accountability about this being your land, about this being your people, or none of that shit. Right? Shit, people don't understand. Like, see, when I look outside after writing down information like this, I'm not like, oh yeah, just another day. No, I'm looking at shit different. Like, damn, you know, shit. I see paved streets and shit. I see, you know, trash and litter and bullshit, right? But when they came here, it was beautiful, right? It was so many colors. Like, man, it was beautiful. The nature was like bright and vivid type shit, right? They really took everything away from you, even your sense of feeling, to even your sense of belonging, because you're not a citizen, first of all. And let's get on that too. We can go to the laptop. Bro. Alright, shit, we finna go to the laptop and really look up these definitions and shit, cause your boy most definitely be doing his research. I ain't know, you know, just know hear a motherfucker say something and then just not do my own research. But basically, right here. I ain't gonna keep this flipped the whole time, but let y'all look at this for a little bit. What is the difference between citizen and denizen? I don't even think I ever heard of it, because this is my first time hearing about it. So a citizen, first of all, is a legally recognized subject or national of a state or commonwealth, either native or naturalized, an inhabitant of a particular town or city. We are nothing but inhabitants if you consider yourself a citizen. You can't consider yourself a denizen because they say it is an inhabitant or occupant of a particular place. That is the same fucking thing. DE is also like demi, and demi is two. So basically, even if your parents, to them, right, came over here and gave birth to you, you'll basically just be an inhabitant or occupant of a particular place. So even with the motherfucker just saying, okay, I was born here, right? Even if we tell them, like, shit, I was born here, I'm a denizen, right? I'm an inhabitant of this place, right? In their language, in this English language that we speak, they're gonna go right back to this shit right here, right? They do shit to try to trick us. It's like tricknology, right? You can keep on going down. And then it's also another response. A citizen of the United States is a legal resident who has been processed by the government as being a member of the United States. We've been processed, that's why you have social security cards. A denizen of the United States is simply someone that lives there. So what are we? Are we denizens or are we citizens? Shit, we're neither one. Like, how do you even connect yourself with the land? Because you can't even say indigenous people. And I'm finna get to show you why. And it's crazy because the words that they use and shit like that, they really keep us trapped on some real ass shit, and it's crazy. Indigenous.
Indigenous.
Originating or occurring naturally in a particular place, native. Of people inhabiting or existing in a land from the earliest times or from before the arrival of colonists. Right? Let's go into the etymology. A native. They said it is a native. What is a native? And you can go on and on with this shit. Native definition, right? But that's like, because in their book, in their rule of law, in their English language, we're still enslaving ourselves. And like, it's crazy, but native. A person born in a specified place or associate with a place by birth. We can't even call ourselves natives because you could say that you're associated with Missouri just because you're born, or you can say, okay, I'm native to Missouri, right? That's because they took the language away, right? You can't even call yourself an indigenous person, an inhabitant, and none of that shit in their rule of law. This is why we never receive what our sovereignty. This is why we would not ever receive that what we're looking for. We said it is freedom, right? But it's like, to them, we're in a spell. The language is a spell. We have to know how to feel this shit. Like, do y'all like know what I mean? Like, we have to feel this shit. Like, this is why the divine feminine energy will always be supreme. Because remember, the subconscious mind is feminine energy, the conscious mind is masculine energy, right? When they say that the subconscious mind, or when they say that the masculine energy has taken over, right, and the feminine energy has been left for dead and shit like that, it's also so within, so without. It's also something that's going in. It's also a process that's taking place within your own mind too, right? You're letting yourself just make conscious decisions, right, without thought or without feeling, type shit like that, right? I mean, I guess it's pros and cons to both of them, but really think about it. Let me fire this blunt. I know I probably looking like, man, fire. But shit, like really think about it. Like, and see, I'm getting off on a whole nother subject. Like, I'm talking about St. Louis, and I'm talking about basically, you know, Lewis and them motherfuckers. I'm talking about that shit. But it all goes back towards something else too. It goes back towards the language. It goes back towards the land. Like, if you cannot even, if you do not even know how you identify to the land, then in their eyes it's like, how can you say that you have any ownership? Like, we're still calling ourselves African Americans and black. Like, we literally still fucking sleep. This is why they had to take our language away, because the vibration behind our connection with the land will wake everything the fuck up. Just saying it. This is why they had to take the language away. You do not even have the words to explain how much ownership you have of the fucking land. Like, the trees and the birds and the bees are our brothers and sisters. Like, it's that deep. Like, you cannot even fathom how much ownership you have, right? The words that you use, right, will not ever explain it. Because we think that words is just a form of communication, or we think that words is communication, but words are just a form of communication, right? Or speaking. Let me not say words, let me say speaking. Speaking is a form of communications, right? But there's so many much more ways to communicate rather than just speaking. Right now, we're just spelling ourselves into a fucking book of spells, literally. That's all we're doing. Like, think about it. Like, we gotta get more in tune with the subconscious aspect of ourselves, right? The subconscious mind, the feminine energy operates off feeling rather than fact. You have to feel this shit. It don't matter how much information you have, You have to feel this shit. You have to feel anything to make change, right? It doesn't matter. This is why in the movies and shit that we always watched, it was always motherfuckers and shit like that that looked like that they stood no chance against the other team or the other opponents and nothing like that, right? But they felt that they wanted to win. It was that feeling. It was that subconscious mind that got to fucking work, right? And that subconscious mind gives orders to the conscious mind. The conscious mind then carries that out, right? We lost connection with ourselves, not each other. Think about it. Our problem is not each other. The problem has never been the feminine energy. The problem has never been the masculine energy. The problem has always been you, because you are both the feminine and the masculine energy. You have a subconscious mind, you have a conscious mind as well. You have a subconscious mind, you have a conscious mind as well. And they both give birth and creation to everything that you see that's right in front of you, right? Your body is a result of the subconscious and the conscious mind coming to work. This is exactly why when you work the fuck out and whatever like that, when you push yourself mentally, emotionally, right? Emotionally has shit to do with feelings, mentally has shit to do with logic. So you're still using subconscious and conscious mind to think, and you're making a result. So it's like, shit, really think about it. It's crazy. Let me go back to the window. Let me go back to the drawing board. I consider this area the drawing board, because you know they say your altar, or you're gonna have a space that's quiet up in your room, right, to where you can, you know, relate and like speak to the ancestors and things like that. And that's exactly what I do. For real. Do a little bit of sun gazing, man. I know y'all can see that little sunset over there. But yeah, everything come across these skies over here. Everything. Oh, shit. Damn. I just saw that shit. That's crazy. I ain't even gonna take it out nut. Shit. Shit. I just bought this phone too. So it's like, you know, subconscious mind still registering it a little bit, you know. But nah, man, shit, that was pretty much all. You know, if y'all want a part 2 of this shit, man, just like the video, share it, and do what y'all gotta do, man. But, you know, just let that shit sink in, man. There's so much violence and so much danger around the Midwest and St. Louis and Chicago and shit, because they're around water, real large water, you know, bodies and shit like that, lakes and rivers and shit. And water holds the most energy. Water holds more energy than anything, right? Because water is at a higher vibration. Same thing with smoke. That's why when you smoke, you get high looking ass. But that was all. Shit, man, just like, subscribe, man. If y'all want more content, just let me know. Ashe, ashe, ashe.